Greetings, everyone. As well anticipated, I'm excited today to bring on a very special guest, particularly now as we have come through this pandemic a year later. And I am so honored to have this esteemed guest with us here on the window again. If you don't already know, my name is Tashia Asante. I'm an award-winning journalist and author of 7 books. And you saw at the beginning of the journey with COVID-19, many of you, probably thousands of you, saw the video, the interview that we did with Darnisha Harrison earlier in this year. And so she's back today to talk about this amazing development, this amazing announcement that has just gone global, gone worldwide. Sharing some exciting news that we're going to get into in just a minute. So I want to just give you a little bit opening information on this topic that we're going to discuss today. While millions have now taken the vaccine against COVID-19, and while we've seen a marked decrease in new infections across America, the battle against COVID-19 is far from over. Millions of people have opted not to take the vaccine for various reasons, primarily mistrust in the institutions that produce the vaccine, concerns that clinical trials weren't thorough enough, and fear about side effects. Bottom line is, some people opted not to take it. Others took it, feel really good about their decision. And we certainly support, and I certainly support anyone who made the decision to take the vaccine for whatever reasons, for their health, for the community, and for the world. We had 130 million people worldwide who were infected with the COVID virus. Many are still in varying stages of healing and recovery. Some face serious health challenges in overcoming the long hauler effects of COVID-19, battling lung and respiratory issues, blood clotting problems, brain fog, cognitive impairment, muscle weakness, immunodeficiency. All are among the serious issues that survivors face. Again, this fight is not over. And this is why the research and work of my guest today, scientist, CEO of Innate Therapeutics, Darnisha Harrison, is so important. Darnisha and a team of distinguished scientists who work with her company, Innate Therapeutics, were the first to develop the only drug on record that shows efficacy in treating people with mild to moderate symptoms of COVID-19 and efficacy in treating asymptomatic patients. Innate's drugs also show efficacy in blocking the entry of COVID into the body in many cases. So again, Ms. Harrison was the first. And we know with history that it's important that we give credit where credit is due. Innate has recently announced its partnership with Stride Pharmaceutical, a giant in India who will manufacture the life-saving oral tablet that Innate has helped produce with an amazing team of scientists. She's going to tell you more about that in a minute. So I want to welcome Ms. Harrison to our discussion as a guest on the window for this special episode. It doesn't get any better than this day. This is a day that we all have been waiting for. So without further ado, join me in welcoming my guest for today on the window, Miss Darnisha Harrison.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
you for
you.
this beautiful introduction.
Oh my God. Thank you, Miss Harrison, for all of the phenomenal work that you continue to do, not just for COVID-19, but I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited about the work that your company and you continue to spearhead. But I want to back up because before we get to that, what inspired you to be courageous enough to take on a battle of this magnitude? I mean, you went up against a global epidemic. It doesn't get any deeper than that, as a scientist, to take on a battle like that, where we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who have died, 500,000 people who died in America, hundreds of thousands of people who are now dying in India.
Mhm.
You have recently negotiated and brokered this amazing deal to do this work and to help the people in India and to work with Strides, who is a giant in their own right.
Mhm.
And your company is now collaborating with them to save lives, to change not only America, but to change the world. What inspired you to do this work?
Well, that's a great question. As a scientist, um, I see it as a true calling. It's part of my mission, and it's such purposeful living that when we see what's happening around us and what ails people, and especially when it becomes pandemic sized issues that are ailing people all over the world, regardless of socioeconomic background,
Yeah.
of race, etc. When we see that, or when I, as a person, as a scientist who develops medicines, I just know this is all part of my mission to bring these medicines to the forefront for all. One of the easiest ways to do that is in a tablet treatment form. So, as a microbiologist and working with some of the best microbiologists and virologists and infectious diseases experts in the world on my team, we simply decided that it made sense to go forward and bring solutions for COVID-19. And that's what we're doing in the easiest way with repurposed drugs in tablet form.
And you started this work really right after the pandemic kicked off in 2020. March of 2020 is the quote unquote official anniversary of the pandemic. And you
Absolutely.
started doing this work just shortly after that.
Yeah.
And I know we interviewed in 2020, late 2020, we did our first interview with you here on the window about the work of your company, Anade.
Yes.
And so this was long before any other company ever announced an oral treatment. I just want that on record.
Yeah.
That's really
And what I
important.
will say is that I like to call other companies in our industry my counter colleagues.
Yeah.
Um, my counter colleagues have stepped up, and some of them now are focused on therapeutics for
Mhm.
COVID-19. I
Yes.
will say, and I want to be politically correct, I think, in saying we were one of the first.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a joy because we're going to need more than one solution on
Yes.
the vaccine front and the antiviral front.
Yeah.
Um, I may be getting a little bit ahead of our discussion, but the federal government in the US has decided that they're going to pour $3 billion into, I think it's 3 billion, into antiviral research.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
for drugs just like we're developing for
Yeah.
COVID-19.
Yes.
So we're a little step ahead of the government
Yeah.
in this regard. So that's what inspired it. It's just part of my mission and
Mhm.
that purpose-driven life, if I may make that quote, to provide solutions as a scientist when people are in need.
Yes. Oh, we know there's been so many hidden figures, Black women scientists who were
Hmm.
hidden figures to the point where they made a whole movie about it.
Yes.
And there were,
Yes.
yes, and you should have been in that movie. And there were women who, were basically helped the first launch onto into outer space, onto the moon. They were very much a part of that, and
Yeah.
they were never acknowledged because of things like racism. And that's another show. We're not going to go there this time. But I tell you, Miss Harrison, it has been my mission to make sure that you are recognized for your work. And I think you probably inspired. You're so modest. I love what you said, your counter colleagues. But I believe that you inspired a lot of other people to look for an oral solution to people who were, didn't want to take a vaccine, who
Yeah.
were afraid of the vaccine,
Hmm.
and, who had not considered the benefits of an oral treatment. But your company, and I'm a journalist, so I stay on top of the news. It was the first that I ever heard of. So I'm gonna just stay on that. But understand you, and we're gonna be politically correct here. So I
Thank you.
want to ask you, Ms. Harrison, how hard was it to assemble a team of incredible scientists like those at UCAM and who work directly for your company to do this research, and then to get a huge and distinguished company like Stride to get behind you and say, we want to do this. We want to manufacture this drug. We want to put it out in the world. We know we're going to release the drug in India. Hopefully, America is going to get a clue, buy a vowel, and get a clue so that no more people have to die. I just had a friend just a few weeks ago who passed away from COVID. She was in her early 50s, healthy, vibrant woman who passed away from COVID. So this thing is not over. And I know we're opening up, many of the states in America are opening up. And I want to ask you that question later on in the show about how safe do you really believe it is? But I want to say, how hard was it, first of all, to get that team of scientists together, to get them agree to work on oral treatment for COVID-19? What was that process like? Could you speak briefly about that?
I will. I will. It was definitely, and my condolences to you on the loss of your friend. My sincere condolences. It was definitely an arduous process. Because I will tell you, within those first couple of months as a company, we had a whole different team. But after that 2 months, our entire team was in place, and they have been in place since then from a scientific standpoint, right? So once I was able to identify those who not only our auras matched, right? But when it came to helping humanity,
Yes.
because we've always been a company focused on infectious diseases, we were on the same page there. And so all of my scientists have been with me since essentially the beginning. Um, and gathering them, I simply had like an aha moment. I've worked with some great scientists. Reach out
Wow.
to them. Reach out to them. Don't be afraid to get at the time, I think I had just, no, we weren't using Blackberries anymore, but I still have my old Blackberry.
Yes, yes.
Get that Blackberry out and look at some of those numbers from scientists you worked with 5, 10, 15 years ago. And that's what I did. And do you know those scientists are with us today?
Wow.
So it was a bit of a process. But once they came on board, and they are still here, and how humbling is that they believe in not only me, but the direction of the company and what we stand for. And I think it is just, again, proof of that purpose-driven life, if I can borrow that term again. Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're getting some questions now in the comments, some wonderful questions, and we're going to take those in just a few minutes. I have just a few more questions for Darnisha as part of our interview, and then we will take a limited amount of questions from the public and the people who are watching this live stream.
Now, one thing you did ask me is, how did we land Strides? Well, Strides, we wanted a global presence with our manufacturing partner, and we had about 2 or 3 choices. We did a little background information, did a little background research, and Strides were like a perfect match to an aid. And I tell you that the relationship is so far has been just so delightful. The respect on both sides of the table, the ease in getting agreements in place. It is a wonderful relationship. So we're excited to work with them, just as excited as they are to be working with us. And it is a true, we consider them an extension of an aid.
Very good.
Yeah. And so we're excited about that.
Well, Aid is one of the companies in America who has stepped up because they are at, critical mass. We know, I've seen the video footage of the hospitals in India. They have, had monumental loss, massive
Yes.
loss of
Yes.
life as a result of
Mhm.
COVID-19
Mhm.
in India.
Mhm.
The hospitals and the doctors are overwhelmed, just
Yes.
as they were in New York. I mean, it's, and it can happen other places. And to my knowledge, they opened India up because the numbers were so low. They literally did what America is doing right now. They opened India up because they thought, hey, we're done with this. We beat this. And then there was a second surge that came out of nowhere where these numbers shot back up again.
Yes.
And so, and they weren't prepared for it. I mean, no one could be prepared for something like that when
Yeah.
you believe that, you've gotten over the hump, which is where we are now.
Yes.
So some of the questions that are coming up again in the feed, and we're going to get to you. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We just have a couple more things, fam. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your support. So you've got these amazing scientists. I know it was not easy in, getting them together, raising the money, everything that you've had to do to make this happen, to help people. Can you talk a little bit about the compassionate use and what it takes to fast track uh, a drug, the approval of a drug, and to get it manufactured and distributed? What
Yes.
does that
Yes.
look like? What does it cost? I mean, not exact, but just an estimate, a ballpark figure of, an effort like that in
Yeah.
terms of a team that's going to lead that effort. What are we talking about? Money that has to be raised to do that
So
kind
it's
of work.
certainly multiples of millions of dollars.
Yes, yes,
We're the rocket. We've got the fuel. We just need the ethanol in the fuel, right?
yes,
And that's multiples of millions of
yes,
dollars.
yes, yes,
And it's worth it to us, right?
yes, yes,
And the fact that this will likely fall under, we don't know yet. We're waiting on um, some things to get feedback from the authorities, but the regulatory authorities, but compassionate use will get the drug out in record time, um, as early as the end of this year or before the end of this year. And
yes,
so that would mean the world to someone, say, in India, you know. Um, Even in the USA, it would mean a lot because those who have not, for whatever reason, been vaccinated, they can, or those who are vaccinated and decide not to get the booster shots, right? Because
yes,
they're preparing boosters now.
yes,
We will have a different option. They can maybe take our therapeutic, which is just a tablet that you
yes.
swallow. Yeah,
That is,
yeah.
yeah.
So
At,
it can mean more options,
yes,
more and more options.
very
I
good.
love to use the analogy. If your house was on fire, would you want the fire department to come or a fire inspector?
Mm, hmm. Both. I mean, I'd want the fire department to come if it was on fire right then and
Right
there.
now, yes. And so we're like the fire department. We're putting COVID-19 out if you get it. I'm trying
Yes,
to get my thing. There we go. If
yes,
well, maybe not. There we go. If you
yes.
get it,
You're perfect.
we
Yes.
put it out.
Oh,
A fire inspector is much like a vaccine, trying to give you
yes,
all the tools to never have a fire. But
yes.
just because you have been fire inspected doesn't mean you won't get a fire, right?
Wow.
So vaccines and
Yes.
therapeutics or antivirals play hand in hand
Wow.
and work together.
Very awesome. Very awesome.
Mhm.
So the question of the hour, the one that's showing up on the stream, I don't know if you can actually see the stream, but what people are asking there, one person, Pinky Dewberry Kennedy, says, I would like to know how safe it is for non vaccinated people to be out in the world now that they have opened it up. Is being around vaccinated people safe? So if you are, it says for non vaccinated people, how safe is it for them to be around vaccinated people?
So let me answer that question as it first came in. How safe is it now that the world is opening up?
Yes.
It is safer, but I would still wear my masks.
Yeah.
I would still hand sanitize and wash my hands constantly. I'd still not touch my face. If I did, I'd immediately wash my hands or sanitize. Until this is no longer a pandemic of monumental concern, Do those things. Go into a restaurant if you want, wear your mask. When you get to your seat with your people you're comfortable with, you're good.
Yes.
Go to the bathroom at that restaurant, put your mask on. That same protocol, I think,
Yeah.
should be followed.
Yeah.
As far as if I'm around a vaccinated person and I'm
And you're not
and I'm
vaccinated.
not vaccinated, there should not be any negative repercussions on either side.
Hmm.
It should not impact at all.
Okay,
Hmm.
wonderful. So you are saying, in essence, that if a person is vaccinated, you have a very low risk of contracting COVID-19 from that person.
Right.
Okay,
Unless
wonderful.
it's a different strain. And that's where those booster shots come in at. But we
Ah,
won't talk about that now.
okay. Okay, that's another show. Y'all gonna have to wait
That's
for
another
part
show.
three. Okay, post after we've released this drug, then
Yes.
we're able to buy, and get a prescription for the drug
That's
that you
right.
have produced.
That's right. That's right.
Another question from one of our viewers is, what are some of the things you can take to keep your immune strong during these times for people who are not vaccinated?
Vitamin D3,
Yes. Yes.
zinc, vitamin C,
Yes.
and Benadryl.
Wow. And if you're just tuning in, I see a lot of you just coming on. We are you welcome to the window. Our guest today is Miss Darnisha Harrison, CEO of Innate Therapeutics, who has just announced the manufacturing deal with Stride Pharma in India to combat the massive loss of life there as a direct result of COVID-19. We are also seeking, to my knowledge, she is also seeking FDA approval to release her drug, Enu 1600, here in the States. This will be an oral treatment for COVID-19. So, those of you who said, I'm not taking the vaccine, I won't do it, I refuse to do it, or those of you who took one dose, those
Mhm.
of you, who just have mixed feelings about it, will be another powerful and wonderful option that you will
Yes.
have. Start asking about Enu 1400 and 1600. Ask your doctor about it. See, because sometimes we have to put the need out there so that people go, oh, yeah, I heard something about that in
Yeah, yeah,
India.
yeah. What do you know
Right.
about it, Doc?
So it's coming. It's coming to America. It's going to
That's right.
India first, and then it's coming to America.
That's right.
So you just heard from her speaking about the dangers, speaking about what you still need to do to protect yourself, even if you've been vaccinated. And then Pinky asked the question, what are things that you can take, if you have not been vaccinated, to keep your system strong? And these are things that you're hearing the scientists who basically has brainstormed and spearheaded the research for a drug to treat COVID. So this is good information. And we have another question from a viewer. It says, what can we expect to see with this oral therapy being released? And they're speaking specifically about California, who, I don't know if you've seen the recent news. Governor Newsom has released California from the social distancing and the mask wearing protocols. And so what they're asking about is this oral therapy being distributed and here in California. Is that a reality? And what effect do you think that will have on the people who are currently infected with COVID, who are trying to heal from having COVID, and people who are trying to still avoid getting it in the future?
I think it's going to be a positive impact. It can only be positive.
Mhm.
So, I want all the listeners, the viewers, to really understand that there's hope,
Yes.
and we're ushering in that hope. So, again, we can do our parts individually. Keep wearing your mask. So what if the governor says you don't have to? They told us that in Georgia quite some time. But restaurants, they still wear masks. I still wear my mask when I go in, no matter what. Um, Even vaccinated people are still wearing masks because of additional strains as well.
Yes.
So the ushering in of our drug is just going to be very positive. Um,
Oh, we lost your vocals there. Did you mute yourself?
Nope. Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Yes, now we can. Yeah.
Especially for cases that are um, in largely populated areas like California.
Okay.
So it's just going to be a very positive outcome.
Yes.
So
Yes. We
just know
can't
that there's
wait.
hope. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
My friend was actually in Georgia, the one who passed away.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and it was just so fast. That's what really
Mm,
took me aback. So I hope everyone who's watching this, please share the video, share it to your list, share it to your local um, news organizations. We want to get the word out that there is an oral treatment available for COVID-19. There has been one available for months, and it is finally going to hit the market thanks to some really hard work and determination of Ms. Harrison and her incredible team. And I just have some closing questions that I want to ask you.
okay.
So, what are three important things that people can do to support the efforts of Innate Therapeutics? I mean, you are not only combating and working to combat COVID-19 now and to provide an option to people who don't want to take the vaccine or choose not to take the vaccine, or people who have taken the vaccine and don't want to do the booster.
Yes. Yes.
Can you,
I think
what
and
can
that's
people
an
do?
excellent question, Tashia.
Yes.
Um, Supporting an aid, following us on our website when we have new press releases out. Spread the word about what we're doing and who we are. Our solid team of scientists, me as a CEO scientist. So I think that word of mouth, gosh, have you heard about what that company down in
Mhm.
Georgia's doing? I
Yes.
think that word of mouth can mean a lot, right?
Yes.
Second,
Yes. We lost you a little bit. You'll be back. There you go. There you
okay.
go.
Secondly, taking care of yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Continue to wear those masks
Mhm.
daily,
Yes.
even if you have been vaccinated, because of maybe additional strains.
Yes.
Continue the washing your hands protocol, just good hygiene. Thirdly, there's nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. So stay in hope,
Yes.
because Anade is ushering in hope, and many of my counter colleagues. Okay. I
Yes.
love to give credit where credit is due. There is hope.
Yes.
Um, I foresee COVID-19 being like eventually, like you have all types of flu symptoms on the OTC aisle, over the counter aisle
Mhm.
at drugstores.
Yes.
You'll have that eventually with COVID.
Wow.
It may be 10 years from now or
Yes.
15,
Yes.
but eventually you're going to have many choices
Wow.
on the shelves that will treat COVID. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the three things I think that
Yes.
would help in aid.
Yes.
And I think I didn't say I'm maybe in an order of importance, because I think the most important thing is to take care of you and your
Mhm.
families.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
there you
and
have it.
yeah, and you can go to www.inadethera.com and learn more about the work the company is doing, and here in America and across the world.
Yes.
They also have some other exciting developments around colorectal cancer
Hmm.
and other viral viruses that have
Yeah.
caused loss of life. And I just want to go on history, before history today, especially in honor of Juneteenth and
Hmm.
it being made a legal holiday as of
Hmm.
tomorrow, and reparations now being on the floor of Congress as well. But
Hmm.
I want to go on record just as honoring you today, June 18th, 2021, as an unhidden figure, a
Thank you.
powerhouse scientist, woman, Black, African American, incredible mind, brilliant soul. And I thank you for your humanitarian efforts to save lives and to stop the spread of COVID.
Thank you.
And I hope that you win a Nobel Peace Award. And I want to speak that because I know, just having had the great fortune to work with you over these last months, all that you've done to help save lives in this
Thank you.
country and abroad. So I hope that the universe recognizes it and gives you just due.
Thank
So
you
I
so
want to thank you again, Miss Darnisha Harrison, for coming on for this episode of The Window. Again, please share the video. I see all the comments. We're not going to be able to get to all the questions today, but I will compile them and forward them to Ms. Harrison.
Oh, great.
Maybe
That
we
would be
can,
great.
yes, get some other feedback on it. But again, you heard it from the scientist who is doing the research, who is on the front lines of the movement to end COVID in the world and in the US. Continue wearing your mask, continue washing your hands, do your preventative vitamin therapy to
Yes,
keep your body healthy, take care of you, make your own self-care
that's
a
right.
priority.
That's
And
right.
in any way that you can, support and spread the news about the work that Innate is doing. Thank you,
Excellent.
Ms. Harrison, for coming on and talking with us.
You are very welcome. It's always an honor. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Forward to the questions, and everyone be well, okay?
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
bye.
great day.
You
Bye.